Well, hello once again. This is the Discerning Otaku, back with a new video. I'm gonna try and have to switch things up this time. I kept getting copyright struck on my last few videos, so I had to take some time and think about how I really wanted to do this if I were to continue on making videos. After a chance encounter with Joey the Anime Man in Akihabara, mentioning my smooth voice, I've decided I'm going to take things in a little bit of a different direction, more with an ASMR approach to my videos. So this is going to be a first in a series of ASMR anime first impressions, where I'm going to go through my first impressions of the new anime that have aired this season. I've got 5 on my list to do today, and from there we'll just see how this goes. So without further ado, let's start the video. First up this week we have Yohane the Parhelion, Sunshine in the Mirror. So this is more or less a reimagining of a lot of different characters from the Love Live Sunshine series, mainly focusing on Yoshiko Tsushima, who is the Chunibyo. If you've ever seen the show, she more or less came up with a fictional character of herself called Yohane, where she pretends that she was a fallen angel. Very quirky within the Love Live franchise, and this was originally announced as an April Fool's joke, and then they eventually actually turned it into a full-fledged series. Now, a lot of people are thinking that this was billed as more or less a Love Live Isekai, but upon watching the first episode, it doesn't really seem to be an Isekai, more or less just a fantasy reimagining of a lot of the characters. Within the first episode, we check in with Yohane, which is now her actual name in the series, along with some other characters that it's alluded to bringing in from the main parent series. So just as you would expect from a Love Live series, the show appears to have a bunch of money dumped into it, so the animation itself looks absolutely fantastic. It is definitely made for fans of the main series. There's a lot of little things here and there that you're going to notice if you're familiar with the characters. But it does follow the standard Love Live formula, so you have a little bit of plot setup and things like that with your beautiful set pieces, and then it divulges down eventually into a mini music video where it kind of steps aside from what's going on in the show to have a fully animated music video in the first episode sung by Yohane. And it kind of follows the standard Love Live formula. There's nothing really bad about that if you're a fan of the series, which me personally I am. I do enjoy the Love Live franchise. You're probably going to like it. It looks great, voice acting's fantastic, everything about it just kind of does what Love Live is known to do. It just, in this instance, it's put into a fantasy world. So if that sounds like something that you're going to be into, I'd definitely say give it, check it out. It is definitely a fun little distraction from your more serious shows. They are hinting at some sort of mystery thing within the plot of everything. But as far as just being a retelling fantasy Love Live, I'd say it's pretty good. So that is Yohane the Parhelion, Sunshine in the Mirror. Alright, on to the second show this week. It seems that most of the music shows aired before a lot of everything else, so this one is also another offshoot of a long-running music anime. This one is Bang Dream! It's MyGo. And I'm going to start off by saying that I am a fan of the Bang Dream series. I've watched the first couple of the original seasons, and I've played the game. It's something that I really do truly enjoy. They're not deep by any stretch of the imagination. They're just kind of, once again, fun little distractions. Obviously, they're made to sort of just sell the game and get you attached to characters so that you'll want to, do your gacha rolls to get the characters that you're a big fan of. This one, however, seems to be a little bit different. from the first episode, so it released the first 3 episodes on the same day, and I did check them all out. But this one seems to be taking a far more serious path than the predecessor shows did. Now they all kind of have their little mild drama things to set up, the characters disagreeing and things like that. But this one seems to kind of go all in with the almost depressing feel of the show instead of having a more lighthearted, will they get through this? The animation seems like it's taken a step back from the prior shows. The colors are a lot more subdued. The character models they're not as unique as the characters were in previous seasons. They all seem to kind of just be very flat stereotypes of instead of unique characters, with the exception of the main vocalist. She does seem to be a different take on an extremely shy, nervous, outcast girl. She seems to be the only one that kind of seems to have a unique personality, whereas a lot of the Bang Dream characters were fairly unique. They had their own little personality quirks, which is what made the individual bands more interesting, and they all have, their different approaches and their different fans. This one does not seem to be doing that. It seems to be trying to go a little bit a different route. I don't know if that's due in part to the popularity of shows like Bocchi the Rock trying to deal with, mental illness or being shy or things like that, and how that gained popularity very quickly. I'm unsure if that affected how they're doing this show, but it did definitely catch me off guard, along with the fact that within the first episode it breaks the formula of set up everything and then divulge into a music video, which series like Love Live and Bang Dream are known to do. That's generally the premise of most of the episodes, is you have your story plot and then you basically have a minute 45-second break for a music video mid-episode. And this one didn't do that. I can't say that I'm necessarily enjoying my watch through of this one at the moment. I'm kind of just waiting to see if it ramps up and gets better, but after the first 3 episodes, I don't know if I'm going to keep up with this one, which is unusual for me, as like I said, I am a fan of the franchise overall. But it seems that this one has just taken a different turn over the previous seasons, and it's in the same universe. They go to the same school as one of the other older groups, but it just seems to be a bit different. But that is Bang Dream, It's MyGo. Next up we have My Tiny Senpai. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this is a very, very generic workplace romance comedy between a short-statured older senpai and her younger kohai. It's extremely obvious that they have feelings for each other, but neither of them seem to get it. Once again, like I said, very generic. It seems to be made specifically for very lonely people who want someone to dote on them, as that's the relationship between the two main characters. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a sad, lonely person, but even for me, this one might be a stretch. There isn't anything that stands out about it. There have been many, many other shows in a similar genre that have come out in recent years that have done these tropes a lot better and are more enjoyable to watch. I'd say pass on this one unless your quota of unrequited love between two characters shows is low. I actually had high hopes for this one, being more like My Senpai is Annoying, which I actually really did enjoy. I thought the characters were charming, they were very fun to watch, and there was a lot more heart in that show. This one, after the first episode, just does not feel like it's going to go that route. Now, don't get me wrong, I could be incorrect. It could ratchet up, episode 2 or 3 and actually try and bring in some new ideas. But as of right now, this one just kind of seems to be a very low impact show that's just trying to play it very, very safe with following the standard genre stereotypes that this type of show has always ran through. And once again, nothing wrong with that, but it's not going to break any new ground. It's not going to really be unique if it keeps up at this rate. And in all honesty, if like I said, if you've got other shows that fit that aesthetic, then you can probably skip this one. Once again, that is My Tiny Senpai. Alright, continuing on with the romance anime, next up we have Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. Now, I'm going to start by saying I adore Horimiya. It's one of my absolute favorite romance anime, but I was genuinely concerned about a second season since the first season summed up the story really, really well. I was even more concerned when I learned it was all stories that happened during the main arc that had just been removed or omitted. But I'm very, very glad to say that my worries were all very unfounded. Cloverworks once again did an amazing job with this one. The characters, writing, and stories are all just as charming as the first season was. The animation and voice acting is all top-notch once again. I was extremely happy to be able to sit back down and watch these wonderful characters throughout new stories that I hadn't seen. I didn't even know that I missed them that much until I was done with the first new episode. It was genuinely a pleasure to sit back down and pick up with all of these characters that I had gotten attached to a few years back, and it was almost like I hadn't missed anything. Usually when second cores come out and they're just side stories, I lose interest very quickly, and there's nothing wrong with doing a show set up like that, but when you watch as many shows as I do, or as a lot of other people do, you do tend to, it's not so much forget, but you lose some of that connection with these characters, and so that was my main concern going into this one. And like I said, I'm very happy that that was not the case, and that it felt like, it had just been a long time without seeing a friend, and you click right back into it. And so I'm really, really happy that Horimiya is back. I'm very excited to see what new adventures they're going to go on obviously we already know how the story ends up if you've watched the first season, but I like that they're fleshing out more of the relationships, more of the things that these characters are going through, and it's being done very, very well, and it's really giving a lot of extra depth to the characters, which is nice. It's something that I didn't know that I needed until, I received it, and that's been something that's been very enjoyable. So once again, that's Horimiya, The Missing Pieces. Alright, and the last anime for this video is Ayaka. So this one does come off as a bit of a generic shonen show. The character designs aren't too inspired, and the show throws a ton of info at you from the get-go with very little follow-through. Main story premise: child loses his father to possibly demons and goes to foster care. At his middle school graduation, he moves back to the island he's from and then learns he has some sort of demon fighting power. The show doesn't get into much information about why or how these things are. It kind of sets it up as, well, you should know these things. These are all normal things. And the character just runs with it as they're explaining what little context these things have for the main character. He's just absorbing it and just kind of sitting there going, okay, yeah, that makes sense, cool, as if these things are completely normal in this universe. And for all I know, they could be. But we don't know much about this universe because everything was thrown at us in 23 minutes, whereas in all honesty, it could have been 2 episodes. They show a fairly large cast of characters. They only introduce about 4. So you have little mystery elements that it seems that they're touting, where it shows a couple of interesting characters towards the end of the episode doing some sort of what I assume is demon extermination. They show what appear to be some sort of monks doing something where they make mention of the main character coming back to the island. It's a lot of setup with very, very little follow through for an intro episode that's meant to kind of pull people in. Now, one thing I will say is thankfully, unlike a lot of other shows who have gloomy and depressing MCs that tends to last for almost entire story arcs, this one is actually kind of shot down relatively quickly by his quote-unquote older brother, who kind of more or less tells him to get over it. Like, you'll be fine. And the MC, for better or worse, does actually tend to listen. So within the first 23 minutes, we do see a little bit of character growth almost immediately, which is very, very unusual. I'm actually pretty happy with that, because that means it's going to be at least a little bit different than your standard. But it's one of those things where so far the show doesn't break any new ground. It, like I said, generic shonen, nothing crazy. Animation is okay, I guess. It's not really good nor bad. I think when we have a lot of these top tier shows coming out now, they're setting new bars for everything. If you have a show that has terrible animation, a lot of the times it's just not going to get made, or it's going to be a design choice. So this one just kind of shoots it straight down the middle as being very safe as far as the animation goes. Like I say, character designs aren't anything special. They're not bad, but they're not good. So, I mean, I'll probably give it a couple more episodes to see if it picks up and see if it's worth kind of keeping up with. But as of right now, it's a tentative maybe on this one. But once again, that show is Ayaka. Alright, so that is all from me for this video. I'm the Discerning Otaku, and what are you guys checking out? Leave down in the comments things that you're watching, whether it be old, new, what you're enjoying. Are you watching any of these shows, and what do you think? If you like the video, or how I'm going to have to be doing these ones to hopefully get these videos pushed out, let me know down below. And as always, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.